What's up, Ramblers? Your favorite CEO is back. And before we begin today's podcast, make sure you hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode. And follow Assistance HQ and Offsource HQ across all platforms to stay up to date on the latest content, updates, and more. And remember, if you need a virtual assistant, visit us at offsource.tech. Now, before we begin, a word from our sponsor. We were listening to this guy and we were talking about starting today, starting now, not even today, starting right now at this very, very second. Now, if you're listening to this at work or if you're in the middle of something, it's completely hard to start right now, right? But if you're just listening, if you are going through the motions of life, then whatever it is that you feel like you should start it right now. Don't wait till the end of the show. Don't wait for 5 minutes. Don't wait till something specific happens, right? And I don't throw anybody under the bus, but I have a friend, and that's one of the things that is a consistent talking point, or I would even say like maybe debatable topic for us, which is quality over quantity in terms of getting started, right? I understand everyone wants to try and be perfect. They want to put out the best content, but put out the best content that you can put out right now. Stop waiting for, a microphone, a ring light. Stop waiting for your friends to be free. Stop waiting for someone to tell you what to do. You need to get started on your craft, on what you love, on what you think that needs to happen in your life right now. Because waiting for, your next paycheck, waiting for your next payday, waiting for, your cousins or your friends, or for just waiting for certain things to be right is only delaying your process. It's only delaying what needs to be happening now, right? So if you want to put out a podcast, put the podcast out right now. What are you waiting till you have microphones and a mic for? You don't need a microphone, earphones to do a podcast. I started doing a podcast on this bad boy right here. Not even the iPhone that I'm recording, showing you guys, on this bad boy right here. Then I started moving and really getting it done on my computer. And that's kind of how I do all my podcasts now, on my computer. But you don't even need a computer to get a podcast started. If you can get 5 minutes of a quiet room, and everyone can get 5 minutes of quiet time, even if it's something with like a small background noise. I think you could just use it as like an ambiance setting, right? Just make sure your podcast has something to do with the ambiance background noise, I guess. If it's a crying baby in the background, put it as nap, make the podcast called nap time or something, right? So whenever you lay down your kid for a nap, you do your podcast. It only takes 5 to 10 minutes. And then you just raw put it out. You don't need to do much editing. I don't do much editing for my podcast. And so everyone's always trying to be like, oh, you have a podcast, or I should have a podcast and do that, or I should want to do it live and do that. And they see my ring light, and they see my microphone, and they see that I can have something that goes like this, right? They see that I have a spare phone. They see that I have my laptop, that I have speakers right here. But what most people don't see, or forgot, because I don't even have enough viewers for you to not have seen it, because I know who's really watching my stuff. I'm not really able to like see or anything, but I kind of have a feel for who's watching my stuff, right? And so everyone who's been watching my stuff has basically kind of been watching my stuff from the beginning, right? So you have seen what I came from. And what did I come from? What, like, I should really start. I'm not late enough in my career to really do it yet, but I would love to start posting a lot of my original old content to show you guys how I got started. I was using this phone. You guys could barely hear me. It was crappy, like, quality. It was absolutely crappy quality, but I enjoyed doing it because I knew I was going to get started. And as you get better, then you can upgrade. Think of it like that, right? When you're playing a video game, you start at level 0. Right? You don't get all the gadgets. You don't get all, like, I mean, when you very, 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 very first start a video game, you get the taste of what it's like to play at the uncapped potential, right? Where they put you through like that little intro, and then you, like, say you lose all your powers or your gadgets and stuff like that. It gives you a little taste of what you could have. Some don't, but some do. But for the most part, when you start a video game, the very first thing you start on is level 0. You start at the very beginning of the game. And at the very beginning of the game is when you were at your weakest. You don't know as much in terms of, the playable characters. You don't know much in terms of combos. You don't know much in terms of information, where to go, walkthroughs. You have not experienced any of what the game has to offer, right? You're going in, you're taking your character, you're very stripped down, minimal, style, minimal, combos, minimal powers, minimal whatever. When you start the game, you start at the very basic minimum level. I go play The Walking Dead on my VR. I start with even when you play The Walking Dead trial, right? I start with a screwdriver and a small amount of points, which I use to go get shotgun and shotgun shells. You can use it for bow and arrow and bow and arrows, but I think you get more use out of a shotgun. But the point is, you stay where you start. Not you. You start where you stay at. The reason being is because wherever you are in life, that's where you are. That's where you're staying at. Wherever your current state is, that's where you are staying until you move further. That is where your starting point is. Every single day where you are is your new starting point. So when you're in a game and you get to level 2, you're now all the way back at the beginning, But you have more experience. You have more equipped knowledge. You have more actual, equipment to work with. You have better powers, you have better stuff. And so take my example of relating it to like a video game, or even relating it to my personal life, where you're starting at the beginning. When I was first doing my lives, when I was first coming on Facebook and like trying to give you guys information, I was using this phone, not this exact phone because I have insurance and I had to get it replaced. I broke it. But I was propping it up, right? I didn't even have the phone holder that I have now, right? I have something where I can kind of like, it's like a phone stand. You just put it on, holds the phone. Kind of like what's on the ring light right now, holding that phone, holding the camera, right? But I was just like propping it up, make sure it was in like up and down mode. I was just kind of like prop it up, and just start doing push-ups, right? I was just hopping on, live, doing push-ups, stretching with you guys. And that was a way of me getting myself, one, in shape, feeling good, getting ready to work out, all that kind of stuff, but also sharing knowledge with you guys, doing everything that I could to be like, yo, I'm going to share what I have, what I'm learning, what my experiences are with you guys. And we're going to do it in a way that's helpful. Right. So you guys could wake up, you guys could get to stretching with me, you guys could, work out with me. And it felt like it was like a small thing. And especially when I would have some people commenting and everything, it absolutely felt amazing, And so that's what you need to do. You need to start at the beginning. Wherever you are currently at, start right now. If you're listening to this, turn this off and go start whatever it is that you're trying to do right now. Because what is delaying? Like, think of it like this. You could start right now, find out that you don't like it, and move on to the next thing. But as you delay, as you start trying to say, oh, I'm going to buy a ring light, I'm going to buy microphones, I'm going to go spend money on something that I don't even know how long I'm going to commit to. Because let's talk about that for a hot second, right? We want to do all these things, but we don't like everything. And some things we just like to do on those times that we like to do it, right? So I love to skateboard, right? But I'm not out here skateboarding every day. I'm not out here buying the newest skate. And that's what stopped me from really getting a skateboard right now, because I know I'm doing so many other things that purchasing a skateboard would only take money out of something that else I could use. So when you guys are trying to do something, before you start putting, money into it seriously, do it for free. And do it consistently for free. Do it at whatever state and place you are in. I promise you, it will breed a better outcome, because now you not only do you get to see your progress, but other people get to see your progress. Other people get to see that you went from on your phone to on a laptop, to having a camera connected to your laptop, to having a microphone, to having a whole setup corner, right? As you continue to grow, you start to get better. But if you start trying to jump in on level 10, jump in on level 15, that's when you start dying a lot. That's when you start to drown. That's when you get overwhelmed, because you don't have the stage 1 through 14 down first. You don't have the beginning stages down. You don't know posture. You don't know voice inflection. You don't know your own personal style. You just know, I want to do, whatever it is. I'm trying to do a podcast, a radio show, music, whatever it is that you're trying to do. You don't have the previous skill sets that would make the use of the equipment that you have valuable, right? So you're trying to hop in and do a podcast and everything, and you're gonna have to do, like, you're probably gonna want to do editing, you're probably gonna want to do like some sound stuff, but you don't know how to do it. And so now it brings just another barrier. And so what happens is, when you just jump into something, when you're like, you know what, I'm going to skip to level 15, what happens is you jump in and get to level 15, and then you're not equipped to get through level 15. So you stay on this weird, state of not being prepared for whatever it is that you just tried to jump into, probably out, $100 for the equipment or classes or software that you spent the money on and don't know how to use. And now your new excuse is, I'll start when I learn how to use it. I'll start when I get an editor on my team. I'll start when I get a team together, because I can't do everything by myself. Well, guess what? You would realize you could do everything by yourself on a small scale if you started on a small scale, right? That's really what the issue is. People are jumping in on level 15. They're not equipped. They don't have experience. That's double bad, right? You're not equipped for level 15. And on top of that, you don't have the experience to navigate level 15. Because here's the thing, there are people out there who are like, I'm going to jump into level 15 because I have experience, and I'm going to use my experience to carry me through. So they're not using equipment. They're just using what they already know, right? So for example, I don't have the most fancy equipment. I really, really, really don't. It can absolutely look like I have a fancy setup, but I promise you, outside of this little microphone arm, I have a setup that all of you could probably put together right now. Now, if you don't have a computer, that's a little bit different. But I'm not an iPhone person, so my primary phone is an Android. I bought an iPhone for camera purposes. So think about that, right? A lot of you guys have an iPhone. And so if you have an iPhone, you literally have absolutely no reason to not be doing a podcast if you want to not be doing a YouTube if you want to not be doing music if you want to. Heck, I've seen people make beats from a phone. I've seen people go ham making beats from a phone, right? So explain to me what you're doing, saying, oh, I need a MIDI, I need HDMI, I need all this equipment and stuff to do what other people are doing for cheaper, for less, with less equipment, using a phone, all that kind of stuff. So I that's where my confusion is, right? Other people are not letting things stop them. So you saying, oh, I want to put out quality content, I want to do this, just put it out. Because put it like this, think of it like this, right? This is actually an example I got from my dad, right? So my dad was a corrections officer, and the way corrections officers, like, the job works is you get like 20 years and then you can retire. You have a pension. Your pension is the average of your 3 best years. So your 3 best years are whenever you made the most amount of money. And he says people try and bust out those 3 years in the beginning, which really doesn't make sense when you think about it, right? Because you're a rookie. So people come in as rookies trying to bust out their 3 largest years. So they're going to grind as hard as they can for their those 3 years, and then try and coast the next 17, because they're like, yeah, I just did all the amount of doubles that I can do at this time, between the ages of 30 and 35. I did all, like, 33, 34, 35, right? So for those 3 years, they're grinding. They're grinding. They're doing overtime. They're not taking any days off. They're picking up shifts. Like, they're doing overtime and then going back and picking up more shifts right after that. They're probably doing 3 shifts back to back to back. I don't even know if you can do that, but they're doing as many shifts as they can in these first 3 years. Now, as a rookie, you have the least amount of pay during that time. Why do you have the least amount of pay during that time? Because you're a rookie. You start at the bottom. You don't jump in and have a high wage. You don't jump in making what the other high-end correction officers that have been there 15 years are making. So think about that. You are working your hardest, your dog on freaking hardest for the very first 3 years, only to be making more money per hour on your last 3 years, which is when you should, do your 3-year strut, your last 3 years, because you have experience, you have knowledge, you know how it works. And because you have the experience, guess what? Just from having that time, you make more money. So your 3 years are going to count a lot better. What does that analogy have to do with what I'm talking about? Because I need to bring things full circle, right? When you very first start out, when you do your very first episode, your very first podcast, your very first show, your very first song, right? You're spending all of this energy, all of this money to try and make a super perfect and quality track, only for it to be unheard, unlistened to, and bad. Like really, really think about that. You're spending money on so much. You're going to spend money on probably a keyboard, on a laptop, on a phone, or a camera, wires, systems, software. You could go hundreds of dollars trying to invest into your hobby, especially when it's like podcasting or doing content and music or anything like that. You can go super deep into spending money for that hobby, right? But the very first song you put out, no one knows you. You don't have any experience. No one really trusts SoundCloud rappers and new people. You probably don't know how to put the song on Spotify, or it would have been better to use that money to put the song on Spotify and stuff like that. But the purpose of what I'm saying is, no matter what, your first song is basically going to be garbage no matter what. Now, very few people make a hit song and it's a banger on their very first time and they go viral and XYZ. Very, very, very rarely does that happen. Very, very rarely. Like, think about all of the rappers that you know. None of you know someone that went viral on the very first video. None. Now, I could be wrong, because some of you might know some of the people that are famous that went viral on like their first videos. But most times people have been putting in the work, and then all of a sudden, 3 years in, one of the videos that they post goes viral, but they've been posting already for 3 years, right? And so that's what you have to do. You have to learn where to put your balls in what court, in what basket, whatever analogy you want to use. The point is, get started right now, because not getting started right now only delays the inevitable of something bad. And you're going to put in so much time, effort, energy, and money into something that you don't even know if you have the galls to commit and see through. You don't know if you have the goals and the commitment to see this through, and you're going to invest time, energy, effort, and money that you probably would be better off used somewhere else. Not going to say that you don't have it, but where could you maximize that time, effort, energy, and money? The reason is you should get started now with whatever you have, is because now you are maximizing your time, effort, and energy. Because because your effort and energy will be into actually putting out quality content, so that for the people that do listen to it, it resonates with them, it feels good. And then you put the rest of that time, effort, and energy into getting people to hear it. Because most of you will spend all of your time, effort, and energy and money to make this good quality, and then spend absolutely no time, effort, and energy because you're drained actually pushing and marketing, the content, the podcast, the music video, the show, the music, whatever it is, right? Most of you are killing and breaking your back trying to put it together, and then forget that you have an entire another leg of that race after you're done to try and get people to listen to it. And that is more demoralizing than trying to get set up, right? Putting the podcast together, trying to get the team, trying to get the equipment. If that's holding you back, right? If you're like, oh, not having a microphone's holding me back. Oh, not having a laptop's holding me back. Oh, not having a fancy phone is holding me back. Then be prepared for when you get to leg two. Oh, people aren't watching my video. People aren't sharing my stuff. Why should they? Why should they share your video? Did you think of that? Did you think about how much energy, time, and money you should put into pushing your product, service, or whatever it is that you're trying to do? And so you got to start today. You got to start grinding harder today. I promise you. No one ever looks back and says, I wish I hustled a lot less. They might say, I wish I spent time with my family more. I wish I spent my money differently. But no one's like, yo, the work that I put in was useless. It was work. No one says that. So get it together and let's go. Start working harder today. Because there's literally, there's nothing else. Like, think of it like that, right? You have no other option. In 5 years, you'll be 5 years older. You cannot stop that, right? So if you're waiting for next week's paycheck, if you're waiting for your ring light, if you're waiting for your camera, your phone, right? Why? That week, you're going to wait anyway. So why wait to get started? You're literally delaying yourself. Like, think of it like this. You starting today means you're 1 week closer to your goal. So think of it in the realm of time. If you had, or if you knew it took 5 years to blow up, right? If everybody understood that it took 5 years to blow up. Now, this is not a fact. This is just me making an example. If it concretely took you 5 years to blow up, right? So if an artist or a business owner or someone trying to achieve something, hands down, 100% knew that it takes exactly 5 years and 600 posts, right? Say you need to put out 600 pieces of content in 5 years. That would be what? 75 pieces of content a day? Now, 125 pieces of content every year. So 125 pieces of content every year. There's 365 days in a year. You have to spend 1/3 of your year putting out content. And so that could be putting out content every couple of months. You don't have to put out a bunch of stuff. It literally 600 pieces of content in 5 years. If every single person knew that that was the metric, that they had to put out 125 pieces of content every single year and had to wait 5 years. So if in 5 years you've gotten to that 5-year mark, and you're putting out 600 pieces of content, let's just say at the magical number of 600 posts in 5 years, you go viral. That 600 posts within a 5-year period goes viral. You have to have been doing it for 5 years and you have to have 600 posts. That 600 post that goes viral changes the game, right? You have been doing something for 5 years and now you go viral. You have experience, you have knowledge, you have, a fan base, you have a core audience, you have equipment, you have a sound, you have a style, you have a brand. So when you go and make that 600 post and go viral, you have all of the equipment needed. Not only do you have all of the equipment needed, you would have started a lot earlier. Like if people knew that the 500 posts, if people knew that the 600 posts in 5 years guaranteed them success, they would not wait till next week because you want your 5 years to start as soon as possible. So think of it like this. You don't know how long it's going to take. Everyone has a different meter. It could take 5 years. It could take 10 years. It could take 15 years. It could take 20 years. It could take 1 year. It could take 1 week. You don't know how long that's going to take, right? You do not know how long it takes to complete this journey. So why are you making it longer by waiting? Start now, make the journey shorter. I feel like that was like bad enunciation. Start now, make the journey shorter, period. Hey Ramblers, that's it.
podcast is over. Don't leave yet, though. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast, and follow us on YouTube at OffSource HQ. We'll see you next time.